How do you plan to help businesses in rural Minnesota who have small or limited budgets?
Well, you know, I think a lot of businesses have small and limited budgets, and it's always a difficult thing. I mean, the government doesn't really dictate exactly what we do with businesses. It's a climate issue, business climate issue, and you know, just a few weeks ago, the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, last month, the end of last month, issued their report about businesses in Minnesota and their opinions. 80% of them thought the economy was doing well and was looking forward to Minnesota's future. I think that's great. Over half of them thought that Minnesota's business climate was more attractive than our competitor states. You know, we'll hear a lot of people tearing it down. I think that really you got to look at it in terms of short-term and long-term investments to create jobs in a region. The long-term investments really have to do with education, partnering with institutions such as yours, Robert, the Pine Technical College and other community and technical colleges around the state. Our wonderful higher four-year institutions, the state ones and the private ones, and make sure that we have the workforce here for the businesses that want to start here. If we have good, qualified employees, businesses can do well in this region. And I ran a good business myself right here, and really enjoyed it, and was really thankful for the great workforce that we have. Short term, to build jobs in the economy, you know, and make sure that local businesses around the state have the resources they need to compete. The other ways that we've always done it is through investments in our critical infrastructure, our roads and our bridges and our schools and our community centers. And these are really critical. It can help provide a middle class to support our businesses in our communities. And those are the tools that our businesses need to be able to succeed, to get their products and their ideas to market. And you know, one other thing that we really need to be paying attention to for small businesses in greater Minnesota is our high-speed internet backbone. And we really need to do a better job. Minnesota's lagging behind the rest of the country and making sure that we have high-speed internet access for our companies. And that's something that they really struggle with, and that which they do have is prohibitively expensive. So I think there really are good public strategies to help with that as well.
Thank you. Bill, to you next. How do you plan to help businesses in rural Minnesota who have small or limited budgets?
Well, small businesses are the backbone of our economy. Whether they're small or limited budgets, whatever, small businesses are what drive our communities. You just go through the county, go to Kanabec County, go through Pine County, up into Carleton County. Small businesses, that's pretty much all you see there. You don't see in a lot of these areas some bigger businesses. We've had some that have left, obviously. They've gone to other states. Tim mentioned going to the Twin Cities or something. A lot of them don't even slow down there. They go all the way to South Dakota. They go to overseas. We used to have a lot of people employed in Pine City at 3M. I mean, what better company to have in Pine City? One that has Minnesota in the title. Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing. They're no longer here. We have to be much more friendly to them. Over in Kanabec County, I know some businesses that have left and have failed over there. We need to work with the community leaders, work with the city councils to make sure that they don't make it too difficult for these businesses, because I know people tell me stories. They say, oh, I was the city council, they were doing this, and they passed this, and they wanted to raise this, and they wanted to raise that, and they said they just drove those businesses out. You know, and that happens in every community. I heard it in every community and throughout the whole district. Regulations, I mentioned them before. If we have some regulations passed that are for a good cause in a certain part of the state, or maybe along the Mississippi River down in Minneapolis, that you might have to have a special regulation for your building or whatever, but it should be mandated across all of rural Minnesota, because you go out in rural Minnesota, it's a lot different. Tony mentioned the fiber optic system and our technology. Yeah, we have to be supportive of that. I think it was in 1985, 85 or 86, I had a fiber optic cable installed through my farm. Unfortunately, I couldn't tap into it. That was just the mainstay from Duluth down to the Twin Cities. But I was warned, don't ever go near it or above it or by it or whatever. And it has been damaged, luckily not on my property because it's really expensive. But we need to increase that technology out there. The employees are affected by these small businesses throughout the state. We have to make sure that these businesses can keep these employees and pay them a better wage. We talked about that as well. We shouldn't have to rely on, for example, like the casino in Pine County be the largest employer or something like that. We need better paying jobs, good jobs that are economy driven and can turn our economy around and actually help the state out as well.
Thank you. Tim, to you next. How do you plan to help businesses in rural Minnesota who have small or limited budgets?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is what I just talked about, is we need to restore the homestead tax credit. Businesses' taxes in this district went up on average 28%. Property taxes went up 28% because of that. Not only did it hurt them because they have to pay higher property taxes, but we've also got $2.9 million less in their customers' pockets. That's $2.9 million less to spend in restaurants and at auto dealers, at gas stations, at all of the business throughout this district. And so that, to me, that is the first thing that we absolutely have to do. We also need to restore the local government aid, which also will lower their property taxes. We also have some skills that are in huge demand, including jobs in this district. And Tony is absolutely right. This is something that Pine Technical College does a good job of trying to fill these jobs that are in demand. But we need to do more on that. We've got a lot of people and so we need to do a better job of that. We need to do a better job of educating. We need to get our funding back for our schools so that if a business is moving here, they know that they're going to have high quality, educated workforce. And so I think that that's another thing that we need to do, is get our education funding back where it needs to be. In the last 10 years, I believe there's only been twice that we've kept up with inflation on that. And earlier, several people talked about the inequity in the funding formula. That's absolutely critical. We are not getting the fair share out state that we need to get. And so there's a couple of things. Another thing that Tony mentioned is the high-speed internet. That also is critical. It's really hard to do business today in this high-tech world if you don't have high-speed internet. And I last week was talking to a guy who has a company that does that type of installation, and he says they've got more business and more demand than they can meet. He said it's just booming. It's a booming business, and we need to find ways to get that to all of our everyone in our district, so that no matter where they are, if they want to start a business, they've got that high-speed internet.
Thank you. Ben, lastly to you. How do you plan to help businesses in rural Minnesota who have small or limited budgets?
Well, first and foremost, I'll work to allow small businesses in rural Minnesota to keep more of their hard-earned money in the first place by lowering their tax burden. I already mentioned that I would push to eliminate the statewide business property tax. I would work with legislators from across Minnesota to do that. And right now we've got so many special tax credits, jobs program, which are great programs. But why should only those people who meet these criteria get these benefits? We need to lower the tax burden for everyone so that everyone has more money to buy goods locally, to grow the economy. And we need to make sure that we're not tying the hands of these businesses, not only with the taxes they pay, but also with the regulations that they have to comply with. People forget that regulatory compliance can often be more expensive for small businesses than the property taxes and the income taxes that they pay. I've had the experience of working for Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, and I've seen how even sometimes the simplest regulation has unintended consequences for businesses. And it really ties their hands, and it can keep businesses from starting up in the first place. And we need to eliminate those regulations that don't have the desired effect and that are stifling business growth and business creation and job growth and job creation. We need to work to eliminate the overlaps between agencies. Sometimes it's hard for businesses to even know which agency they have to go to get the permit that they need. We need to create more one-stop shops. We need to simplify the regulatory and the permitting. And we need to expedite the permitting. You know, it can take up to 2 years to find out if you'll even get the permits in Minnesota to open a business. And in other states, like South Dakota, Tennessee, Indiana, they guarantee that companies will get those permits in 6 to 9 months. They can break ground, build the plant, and be operating and earning a profit before a company can even break ground here in Minnesota. We have to become more competitive with our neighboring states, both on taxes and on regulations. And with those two things, I think we can, you know, in rural Minnesota and throughout Minnesota, become more competitive, and we can grow jobs, grow our economy, and you know, fill our schools and fill all the vacant homes in our neighborhoods. Because with jobs will come families. Families need the houses. Once the vacant and foreclosed houses start being filled, that'll increase the demand for new construction, and everyone will benefit. Thank you.